Greetings everybody, this is Thunder. I wanted to do a video today because I've been thinking about a lot of different things that are going on right now. And I was thinking about the concept of patriotism and the concept of America and what America used to be and what America is now. Now, I have stated many times that as a native being of that mindset, I don't even recognize this country as quote unquote America. But I always qualify that by saying that I live here and we live here and we do. So let's just take a look at what America used to be and what it is now. And I want to say that I have nothing against, on reviewing some of the founding fathers, what they call the founding fathers of this country. You can't have such a biased view because you're an indigenous person that you can't see other things. And some of the other things I see are that the original concept, of every man being equal and every man by what they call God's grace or the grace of just being a human being has certain inalienable rights, And I agree with that. I agree with it just by the fact that we're here on the planet as humans, that we have as much right as the next person. In other words, there should be nobody over us. There should be nobody telling us what to do. There should be nobody that chastises us because we don't believe in their way. Our rights, and let's talk about inalienable rights that the patriots talk about and that the early founding fathers talked about, of not having our privacy infringed upon and just being a free person. And I'm getting into this because there's a reason that I'm getting into this. And the reason is that I realize that there's a lot of good people out there, and I realize that there's certain movements, militia movements, that are forming up now that for all practical purposes realize the dangers of tyranny, no liberty. And I think that maybe this is a good thing, because being a warrior myself, times have changed. I'm not living with Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull and Geronimo, although I would like to be. And I think that the militia groups could take a good lesson from the courage displayed by such chieftains as Geronimo and Cochise and Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull. And the point that I'm trying to make today is that I think that these groups need to wake up if they're going to be active about anything. And they're perfectly legal according to the Constitution, their own Constitution. And the Supreme Court has even reaffirmed this. The whole question about a well-regulated militia, armed, was to protect us, in their eyes, was to protect the American people, the formation of this new colony away from that of Britain. And Britain and its redcoats, to me, look exactly like any other army that tries to have, jurisdiction over other people, or tries to have tyranny over other people. Now, I was seeing a thing on HBO about John Adams and the early founders and the Constitution and the Tea Party and all that stuff. And they realized back then that governments could get out of control. They could get out of control. Now, let's jump to right now. Let's jump to the reality of the situation that we're seeing right now in this land, okay, called America. It is called America now, but that's just a name. And I want to inform the militia groups out there to take heed and realize that it's beyond the name of America. It's about freedom. It's about liberty. If you want to fight for something, it's about freedom and liberty and being free of tyranny. Now, when you find yourself being lied to in every aspect of your life, let's look at the reality of the situation here. Let's take a look at the reality of the situation. I just did a video about how you can't get any correct news on Russia, the Russian aid convoy, the stock market, anything. It's all a lie. And it's insidious because they keep putting out the same stories over and over. They use Orwellian tactics, which is doublespeak and repeating the same thing over and over until you think it's real. Okay, and one of the things that they do is change things ever so slightly, just a little bit at a time. It's like you're watching a slideshow and they're slipping in slides that look the same, but they're just slightly different. And it's so slight that you may not even notice it until you get to the end of the show. And when you get to the end of the show, you find out that this isn't the same show I was watching. I was thinking about how I grew up, and I was thinking about the earlier, simpler days of America. And I went to American schools, and I was just the same as the rest of the kids. And I grew up as a young adult, and I traveled to all kinds of different places around the country. I lived in all kinds of different places. I was raised in Arizona, but I lived in Las Vegas, the early Vegas. I mean, the Rat Pack day Vegas. I lived in San Diego. I lived in a lot of different places. I visited New York. I traveled all around New York when I was, 12 to 15 years old. I've seen a lot of this country, and I remember a lot of good things growing up, and those things aren't here anymore, people. They're not here. And those of you who were born later on in life don't even realize how good things used to be compared to what they are now. The country has become tyrannical. It's just like what the early founding fathers were trying to escape from. Tyranny. And tyranny and dictatorship, they go hand in hand, and it doesn't make any difference. You have to wake up to the fact that this could be in place no matter what you call the government. Now, you could call the government king and queen like they do in England, or you could say that it's president and first lady. There's no difference. You could say the House of Commons or the House of Parliament, or you could say the Senate of the United States of America and the Congress. What has changed? What has changed? Now, in earlier days, in my day, like I like to say in my day, well, that means in the day that I was growing up as a young man, I experienced a lot different things than are what are happening now. Let me give you a little background on some of my family. My great-grandfather was in World War I, and he was in the Army medical division, and he was a hard worker, and he died young because he worked so hard and loved the people even after he got out of the Army. And I know all about World War I, and I know all about my family's history. And what my father told me about World War II, and all that went down with that. Things are not the same, people. There were, quote, unquote, patriots in my family, okay? That's why I say there's two kinds of patriots. There's a patriot that has nationalistic fervor, that doesn't look beyond the pale, can't see the forest for the trees, just looks at the waving flag in America and the propaganda side, and is sucked into one side or the other, either, what they call a Tea Party side, or the neoconservative side and the liberal side. They're both the same now. They're both the same. And they're run by the same people. And you militia people out there, you people that are fighting for or have a mindset, you need to look at yourself. You need to take heed and take stock. And think about what it is that you are fighting for, or want to fight for, or want to protect yourselves from. And there should be no racial component in a true warrior. There should be no racial component. In other words, you're not a militia group that are rednecks that hate Latinos because they're coming over the border and they're ruining our way of life. No, they didn't ruin our way of life. Our government, which is no longer America, uses people like these, Latinos, blacks. They play the race card all the time to turn one person against the other and to divide and conquer. It's as old as Sun Tzu's Art of War. It's as old as the Roman gladiators and centurions. And So you need to look at what their machinations are. And their machinations are to turn one person against the other. So militia groups are worthless unless they band together in one common goal for this country or the liberty of this country. Liberty means being at liberty, being free. What do you think it means? And that means freedom in your mind, too. That means freedom of prejudice or prejudices. Is that a word? I don't know. But you have to be free of, excuse me, you have to be free of any kind of prejudice against white, black, yellow. It's not about that. It's about freedom and liberty. And there were black patriots too. And there were even red, and all races fought in the great wars for this country. Even Japanese, some of them. The point I'm trying to make here is that America is gone. It's gone. It no longer exists. The America that I grew up in, and you younger guys take heed, it is no longer here. So when you grab your weapon in defense of something that is no longer here, think about that. Don't grab it in defense of something that is no longer here. Grab it in defense of freedom and freedom from tyranny and dictatorship and lies and suppression and the boot on the back of your friggin' neck. And realize that all your brothers and sisters are one, and be for the people and the planet. Don't narrow your scope with blinders on to any kind of, racist ideology. Don't fall for their concept or their game. Now, like I said in my previous video, nothing is as it seems. Nothing is as it seems. Everything is a lie. When you look at there are no more embedded reporters. There are no more investigative reporters in journalism. There are no more questioning reporters. They're all under one umbrella. They're all controlled. It happens insidiously. They repeat the same story over and over again until you believe it. And they do it in all aspects of our lives, financially, because it all comes from a media source. And then they act accordingly. So everything that you see before your eyes is a complete lie. So the time for action is way past. It's way past. If you're a militia person, you need to wake up. If you're a warrior, let's not even call it militia. Let's just call it warriorship. Let's just call it freedom from tyranny. Let's just call it basic human rights. That's all friggin' gone. It's all an illusion now. You can't travel anywhere without fear of your bags and persons being searched, your personal private body. There's horrific things going on. Women having cavity searches done upon them by perverted police. All the police departments are now got this new look with these square Humvee type vehicles and 50 caliber, 50 cal. Think about that, 50 caliber weapons with tripods, flak jackets, just like if you're a vet, just like your unit in Iraq, you know? You got the Humvees and you got the whole bit. They're bringing a warlike mentality to America. They're making America a battleground. I know this video's kind of long and I hope you stick with me. But this needs to be said, and so I'm saying it. They're making America a battleground. They're making it a wasteland. And it's going to get worse. It'll get worse, people, brothers, sisters. The Native American has already been through this. The red man has already been through this. Take heed. It is upon you. And this is coming from the heart here. And this is coming from the people, or for the people, I should say, that want to be true patriots to the original values of what they call America. If you want to even come close to that, and really, again, I'm going way outside I'm crossing over into your territory now and letting you know that I know what it's like to be a patriot, or to experience a different America than what we're experiencing now. Okay? This is leaving out, I'm usually an advocate for the indigenous people, and I still am, because they were the original keepers of this land. That's where it all went wrong. But that's behind us now. That's behind us, and we can't dwell on that. What we have to dwell on is what is happening right now. So if there are militia groups out there which are quote-unquote legal, or if there are groups that are banding together, you need to do it now. And you need to take action now. Before it might already be too late. It might already be too late. And when you look at the original founders in the Continental Congress and the people like John Paine and, all those guys, Benjamin Franklin and all the original Jefferson and all those guys, they weren't faint-hearted by any means. You have to give credit where credit's due. Don't be faint-hearted. Take heed. I understand. And you should understand that it's gone, baby. Take Thunder's word for it. The fun times are gone. The times when you can walk around and not be looked at with suspicion or profiled or having your person and place watched, or you being watched, or your own personal effects being searched, and they do it with dogs and canine units and people at the airports and just public places, cameras all over the place. How much more proof do you need that it's over? Does this mean that it's hopeless? Well, I'd like to think that it isn't. I would like to, think that now these people that are still clinging on to this to these political, the machinations or the promises or anything of any political group, I don't care what it is, libertarian, the Greenpeace Party, the Democrats, the Republicans, you're seriously misled if you're still clinging on to that. You need to get beyond this mechanism that they use to divide and conquer. And it's called factionalism, factions. And you need to get over this attitude that people like Russia or anybody in the Middle East or anywhere is your enemy. It's, the only enemy you have is within, what you make your enemy. If there's any real enemy, it's the ones that trump up false propaganda to make you think that there is an enemy. Russia is not our enemy, and they're demonizing them. Libya, Syria, they're just people. And do you think that their leaders are any more evil than our leaders? Do you think that any politician is any better than another? Why are they in there? For power, for control, for an agenda. That doesn't mean the people of that country are bad. So you got all these different, you got a playbook behind the scenes that nobody really knows what's going on because they make it that way. It's called purposeful chaos, purposeful illusion. And people aren't really going to wake up till they go to the store and the food prices are like out of control on bread or anything. I was telling somebody the other day, I remember when bread was 15 cents a loaf. I remember when coffee was a dime, when Cokes were a nickel. I remember when, the milkman delivered milk to your back door and it had cream on top and it was in glass bottles. I remember when the bakery goods and farm fresh food was right there for your taking. There was none of this GMO crap or any of that stuff. I remember when the biggest trouble you could get into with your fellow playmates at school was getting into a fight, not shooting each other. They're the ones that have perpetuated a state of violence by their war machine, by their, industrialized military complex, and their industrialized prison complex, and their industrialized corporate complex. It's huge, it's monstrous, and it's propped up by phony money. So I'm reaching out to those who may have a different philosophy than mine, or a different religion or whatever. It's all about one thing, isn't it really? If you want to call it, from your point of view, from your religious point of view, God-given rights, then that's fine, because it means the same thing as being free and not having a man on your ass, on your back. Geronimo didn't go for that. Take a lesson from him and in his tactics and his guerrilla fighting. Take a lesson from all the great warriors. If you're going to be a militia person, don't be a militia person, be a warrior. And don't leave the spiritual component out of it. Don't leave the fact that, what are you fighting for? Are you fighting for a change in, just getting a different guy in there that's going to be as bad as the next guy? And this is coming from the heart here. Every revolution that has ever been is swapping one dictator for another, or swapping one tyrannical person for another. What are you fighting for? If you're going to fight for anything, fight for freedom from all of that. I just think that if you're going to take action, it's long overdue. And it may be too late, so maybe this video's too late. But basically, I just wanted people to know that I understand the other side. I understand patriotism. I understand, but you don't want to, there's a difference between patriotism. Like I said before, there's nationalistic fervor patriotism, and there's patriotism of, oh, I want it to be like it was. I want to be more free. I feel burdened, like the original revolutionary movement of this country felt burdened by taxation and being set upon. Where do you think the Fourth Amendment came from? Being set upon in your house and being searched. The British came right in and searched people's houses, and they weren't considered people. We're way beyond that now. We're just objects. We're just grist for the mill. We're just people. You really have to listen to this and realize that anything that you're doing, whatever you're involved in, whether you're a stock market player or real estate or, a businessman or, an employee of the government, whatever you're doing, you're not free. You're a slave. You're paying taxes. You're not, as the Bible says, sitting under your own vine and fig tree, or farming or hunting on your own land and being self-sufficient like the indigenous people of this land first were. Man, if the European man would have come over here and made a strong alliance with the indigenous people, the natives, like some of the mountain men did, but if everybody would have done that and learned how to live in accordance with the land and in accordance with nature, things would be a lot different now. So I guess my message today is Thunder understands all sides of the equation here. I understand about, like I said, I had ancestors that fought in the wars. Okay? The world wars. I got friends that are World War II vets. There's only a few left. I've got friends that think differently than I do, and we talk, but we're still friends, and we still have a common ground that, hey, whatever's happening, we have to be free. We have to be free of tyranny, free of the divide and conquer mentality, free of that they imposed upon us. We have to be free of racial division, okay? We can't think that one race is better than another, or that, like the original Bluecoats thought, they brainwashed the people into thinking that the natives were savages and that they weren't, they racially profiled them. And all this terrorist stuff that's going on and all this stuff in the world today, it's horrific. And it's all propagated by the Western powers. Most of it. I mean, just look at it. And we can't get this attitude, well, it's not us, we're Americans. No, we're not Americans. That's gone. There's infiltration has been made, inroads have been made. I've been here a while, believe me. Inroads have been made and things have been changed from the inside out. The Transformers. Get it? There is no this nation, that nation. There's just factions that are arguing and trying to grab resources. Why? Because they have some playbook that they're playing by, some selfish, self-centered. I mean, you talk about, Britain and the original colonists. What's going on right now is like 20, 30, 40, exponentially 50 times worse than that. Don't sit around on your ass and do nothing. Remember, you have grandchildren. And if there's terrorists out there, if there's people that don't like Americans, this is all a playbook. And they use other people to make you fear. Just like they use the white man against the black man, and the black man against the red man, and the yellow man against... This is right out of a playbook. So when you fight for liberty, or you fight for, against tyranny, realize that it's for all people. Don't be selfish about it. And get on with it. That's the most important thing. Get on with it if you're going to do it. Otherwise, just forget it and go under. Be plowed under. Okay? This is like counsel. This is like thunder giving counsel. My heart is with those people that stood up at the Bundy Ranch against the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management. My heart is with those people that had enough gumption and balls to get out there and stand up to these people that were knocking women down and sicking dogs on people. And man, if you were in the 60s, you would have seen films like Animal Farm and read books about how the pigs, where do you think that term came from, pigs? Came from the pigs overtook the animal farm, okay? Just like Gestapo, Nazis, okay? That's why where the term pigs came from. But that whole book in 1984 and all of that stuff, and even books that go further back, like, stuff written by patriots. It's always been us against them. Okay, it's always been this mentality of they're not letting us be free. And they have never let us be free, and they never will let us be free. So what's the answer? Well, the real answer is freedom up here. Of course, we know that. But since we live in the duality, and since Thunder lives here, and since Thunder is part of the duality and all of mankind, I just thought I would get this. I was inspired to get this out to the people that are coming from a different angle, that may not see the light. They may not see the forest for the trees. So this is what this is about. Be a true strategist. Study all the, the arts of stratagem. Don't be sucked in. If you have a firearm, or if you have a weapon, or if you have an agenda, and it's for self-protection, and it's to restore your freedom, that's fine. I'm with you 100%. I'm letting you know that right now. But make sure that you know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Don't just go off half-cocked. No pun intended. So let's all try to realize, basically the bottom line here is, let's try to realize that there is no truth anymore, and there is no justice, and there is no liberty. And America is not what it's used to be. Trust me. It's not at all like what it used to be. It's not what we knew as kids. Whether you're red, black, white, yellow, it's not. Back then it was simpler, it was fun. There wasn't a lot of worries. There was a lot more compassion. You didn't have to lock your door at night. And you hardly read about murders at all. Or, government harassment, or, when I was really a kid, even before the 60s, I'm talking about in the 50s, it was a simpler time. Cheeseburgers, chocolate malts, the drive-in, your girlfriend at school. Those times, those are gone, baby. You talk to young people today, they don't even have a conception of what that was. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there today. This video is getting kind of long, but it's going to take forever to upload. But I think I'll probably entitle it, Militia Groups Take Heed. True Liberty is Gone. Or something like that. Just to get the attention of those people. And you can pass this video on if you feel it's important. If there's good information in here, pass it on to your fellow, your compatriots, your buddies, your gun club buddies, whatever. Be a true warrior. Be spiritually attuned. Okay, because half the battle is knowing. Knowledge is power. Just remember that. Sometimes you don't even need to lift a finger or fire a bullet. It's all strategy, baby. Work together. Love one another, like your Christian Bible says. And work for the good of mankind. And that means informing them that, hey, it ain't the same anymore, and listening to people like me that know it's not the same. Trust me. So anyway, I'll leave it there today. Peace unto you, brothers and sisters. Whatever your belief system is, we have one thing in common. We all want to be free. We all don't want to be lied to, and we all don't want to be slaves, do we? I'll end it there. This is Thunder from the One Eye of the Heart.